Hey guys, Mr. Breen here, and in this video I'm going to talk about indirect statement clauses in Latin. Take a look at these two sentences. Caesar invaded Gaul, and he said that Caesar invaded Gaul. In the first sentence, I'm stating a fact. Caesar invaded Gaul. In the second sentence, I'm telling you that someone else stated a fact. He said, that's the subject and verb, that Caesar invaded Gaul. In the first sentence, I'm saying this directly. In the second sentence, I'm telling you indirectly that Caesar invaded Gaul by saying that someone else said that Caesar invaded Gaul. Now let's see what this looks like in Latin. Okay, let's take a look at these two sentences. In the first one, we have Galliam, which is going to be a D-O inwasit verb and Kaiser subject, a normal sentence like you're used to seeing, meaning Caesar invaded Gaul. In the second sentence, though, we have some weird stuff going on. We have a verb dixit and a dio Galliam and an infinitive in watera and a dio Kaiser. Now, in the past, when you have seen infinitives, they've been complementary infinitives. Something like he is able to verb, or he wants to verb, or something like that. He says to verb, not so much. Not a complementary infinitive, so we have something else going on. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to tell what's going on because of a couple of clues. First, dixit is what we call a mind and mouth verb. Mind and mouth verbs are verbs that, like, I think, I believe, I say, I tell, that can take indirect statement clauses. And in indirect statement clauses, the verb is actually an infinitive. So there's our infinitive. Now we still have to reconcile the fact that we have what look like two direct objects, but one of them has to be a subject. And how do we know? Well, it turns out that indirect clauses take as their subject accusatives. So which accusative here is the subject? Well, he said that Gaul invades Caesar, or he said that Caesar invaded Gaul. Probably the latter one. Probably Caesar is the subject. But here you actually have to use the word's meanings to figure that out, potentially. Now, a couple notes here. Galliam has to go, in order for the sentence to make sense, Galliam has to go in the dependent clause. So where are we going to bracket? Right there, and right there. And I want you to note, in English we use the word that as a clause marker for indirect statement. In Latin, no clause marker. It's totally letters that say no clause marker, even though it looks like nothing. So indirect clauses have three parts. They have a mind and mouth verb, or what we'll call them an M&M verb. And, here are some examples of those. Puto putara, I think. Naro narara, I tell. Dico dicera, I say. And skio skira, I know. But there are many more. And you kind of know them from the meaning, right? They're mind and mouth verbs. The second part is that the subject of the dependent clause, important to note, is accusative. And the verb of the dependent clause is actually an infinitive, but in English you don't translate it like an infinitive. You don't translate it to verb, you translate it like a normal verb. And again, in English we use the word that as the clause marker, but there is no clause marker in Latin indirect statements. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of practice here, so go ahead and pause the video, get out a piece of paper or something, and try to bracket and label and translate these sentences. See if you can recognize where the mind and mouth verbs are, where the dependent clauses begin and end, and so on. So go ahead and pause it, and I'll come back in a second to give you the answers. Okay, so for the first one, milites, that looks like a subject, that ascending. Putabant is a verb. Wow, that's a mind and mouth verb. So I'm going to go ahead and say Kaiserem is probably part of, oh, not a dio. sorry, subject, most likely. And esse is a verb. Hey, it's a linking verb. Bonum is modifying ducem, subject complement. Okay, and then in the next one, skianes, hey, present active participle. Fun. Present active participle skianes. Okay, that's going to be part of a clause, as we know. It's a verb in a clause. Oh, this is a mind and mouth verb as well, skianes. So, I bet that's another dependent clause. And there we go. Ir as a verb. Romanum is a place to which, and is the subject. Okay, skianes modifies we're subject. Athenas is a place to which, now we call it verb. Okay. Virum, I don't know if that's a dia or what, but I know that this modifies that. I'll come back to virum in a second. Qui, subject, nobis, narabat, hey, mind and mouth verb. Narabat, Romam, subject, tutem. Esse is a linking verb, subject complement. And hey, this main clause is pretty small. We did, and virum now has to be a direct object. Romi, in Rome, that's a place in which, that's a locative case. Senatores, subject. Se rus fugere dixerant. Well, dixerant is a verb. Fugere is an infinitive, and dixerant, mind and mouth verb plus fugere infinitive. I bet this is indirect statement. Verb. Rus is a place to which, say, subject. Yep. And here are the translations of all of those sentences. And here again, you can pause and compare this to what you had